so it's just like, and Gordon is okay with you using stuff like that as long as the product that he's getting is perfect, right?
Right.
If you send him an undercooked steak and you're using cake testers, he's gonna freak the fuck out.
Yeah.
In a normal kitchen, that's normal for us to use all that stuff. So like I'm opening up a steakhouse. Like I need half of my staff to learn how to use thermometers because maybe half of them, and this is Waco, so the talent, I'm not sure where it's at yet. So for me, that's normal. When you go in Hell's Kitchen, it's like you're doing the old school stuff. So.
Right. And Gordon's like adamant about that. And it's like, well, Gordon, you've pressed on your forehead many more times. Like your medium rare is different than my forehead, okay?
100%.
Welcome to A Bunch of Losers. Alejandro, tell me, just summarize, the season you were on and I guess I should say what place, because it's not a spoiler anymore, right?
No, I would hope not.
Go for it.
I'm hoping people aren't still watching it. So I'm Alejandro Najar. I was on season 21 of Hell's Kitchen, Battle of the Ages, and I placed third.
Woo! So close.
First place runner-up.
As much as we can finagle saying first in our finish line, right?
Absolutely.
Man, okay, so let's go back. Where and what were you doing before you decided I'm going to audition for Hell's Kitchen?
So funny enough, I didn't audition, right? They reached out to me. So this is actually the second time a production company or casting agent has reached out to me. Back in 2017, I was on Cutthroat Kitchen. They had reached out to me. And then same thing with Hell's Kitchen. I saw casting kind of like floating around all over social media and stuff. And excuse me. And in my head, I was like, I'll never do Hell's Kitchen in my life. It's just not what I want to do.
You're like, I don't want to end up an idiot sandwich.
No. And I was more like I've been in kitchens for my entire life. Like this is my 16th year in the industry, so I always wanted to kind of like get awards and then do TV, but I'm kind of working backwards at this point, which is fine.
It's kind of how the industry has developed.
Yeah, right. So I was just minding my own business. I post all my stuff on social media, and then I was in Columbus, and my phone just started blowing up. Like this lady was like reaching out to me on Facebook, Instagram. She had my number. She got my email, and she was like, "Let's talk Hell's Kitchen." One thing led to the next. I had an interview that Monday, and then 6 months later, got the call back to say that I was on the show. Wow. So, well, actually, yeah. 2 days before my birthday, they told me, and then they also told me I had to leave January 4th. My birthday's on the 23rd of December, so it was like 2 weeks of like, hey, you got to get your shit together and leave.
Yeah, shit. In that 6 months that you were waiting, was there like back and forth? Did you have to submit things or anything like that?
So with Fox is a little different than like a Food Network, right? Food Network is pretty quick on whether or not you made it or not. They'll let you know within 2 months. So, and then traditionally what they do with Hell's Kitchen for casting and stuff, like they would fly you out to LA for the weekend. You would take a psych exam, a physical, you would audition. COVID happened. So all that shit's out the window. So they told us that there would be some static for a little while. I didn't expect that much. I think I had like 3 more interviews within that 6-month time span, and then had a phone call that said that I made the show, and then I had to do like a psych exam after that. So wow. a lot of I think with Fox being such a big network, it's kind of hard for them to kind of it's so much stuff going on. Dude.
Well, and MasterChef was on Fox too, so that I know that dude, that psych eval, how much were you questioning your life after you took that test?
Dude, I've never had anything like that.
Yeah.
So, and it was weird. I was like second guessing my answers to this guy because I was like, I feel like he knows me better than I do. Like, what is going on?
Yeah. You're like, do you have a report that I don't know about? That's amazing. Okay, so when you shipped off to Hell's Kitchen, because it filmed in LA,
yes.
You were in Ohio.
Yes.
You have a kid, a wife, the whole deal.
Yeah.
So how did you prepare to ship off? And because you're not thinking I'm going to go there and get eliminated and come right home. Like I hope in my mind you're preparing to go the gauntlet.
Yeah, like my only, so there's not really much preparation I could have done, and I asked like, as soon as like you get casted for like I feel like Hell's Kitchen or even like Master Chef, you're gonna try to reach out to other people who've been on the show. I needed, you didn't,
No.
did you or
No.
no? I tried to, and luckily one of my cooks at the time, he was a fanatic of Hell's Kitchen, so he was like, this challenge, and I looked at him one point. I was like, dude, I don't fucking care. Like, I just want to go in there and just like experience it, think off the edge of my feet and stuff. So it was more of like a mentally preparing stuff of like, hey, I won't be able to talk to my wife at the time, and then my child, I won't be able to talk to them for a month, maybe two, depending on how that goes. And it was is more or less like me kind of dealing with that. My wife at the time, I'll call her my ex-wife. There we go. That's easier. Yeah, like when I got asked to do it, there was no second guessing, no question at all. It was like, you're going to go ahead and do it. I'll take care of Arlo, who's my son, and then I had a bunch of backup at work too. They were like, "You go do what you got to do," and then it kind of helped me kind of focus on all of that stuff. So yeah, obviously I got there. I was like, all right, I don't want to be the first one to go home. And then when we found out that we had Sundays off, I was like, cool, let's make it the Sunday. Let's not be the first one off, and then let's make it the Sunday. So
Yeah, dude. Okay, so I have to tell you, I'm 11 or 12 episodes in. Um,
you're close. Yeah, you're close to the end.
yeah, I mean, you know, like watching these shows after you've dealt with Gordon Ramsay, it's hard. It's really hard to watch. So anyway, I've been binging while working, and man, you had a rough journey. There were a few moments I was just like, I wasn't rooting for you to go home by any means. All I was thinking is I feel like you were kind of lucky that AB had so much drama with everybody else that
Yeah.
even if you had a bad service or struggling on meat station, he was just so distracting. And then what's his name? Be True.
Billy.
Billy, and same with Billy. Billy is also like, those guys are just, they were just like wildfires that were just taking all the energy. So um, I had kind of had a question, because obviously we
Yep.
come from two extremely different styles of Gordon Ramsay shows, um, and I don't think there's any other show that does a kitchen service like Top Chef. Like Top Chef is almost closer to Master Chef style as far as like the way they
Yeah.
pump out their competitions. Like, you guys are doing a dinner service. When the from a chef point, and we did Master Chef, we get one.
Yeah. You guys usually go to like Hell's Kitchen or something
Yeah,
like
we
that,
do a
right?
restaurant takeover, and man, when we were doing the restaurant takeover, the thing I hated the most is, one, Gordon Ramsay spits out these tables and like the table number and the entrees and the appetizers so fucking fast. You're like,
Yeah, dude.
bro, like like what are you doing? And then
Slow it down a little
slow it
bit.
down just a little bit. Um, and he also doesn't mess up, which is unbelievable. Like, I don't know how he does that many in a row without messing up. But hey, uh, and then also he gets so upset about temperature. But you guys don't have like meat thermometers, do you?
No. So here's the thing, right? There's a little bit of like behind the scenes stuff. Like they will, and they kind of do this to set you up a little bit,
Right.
right? They will put a meat probe in kind of like the utensils area and cake testers and stuff like that. And in a real kitchen, you can use them. Like, why
Yeah.
not? But it's there to set you up because, one, it makes for good TV because it's reality TV at the end of the day. And then two, it's like, I feel like with the earlier seasons of Hell's Kitchen, there was a lot of people who never even cooked. There was a lot of like home cooks or like retired people, and now I think let's say like seasons 16 to 22, there's actual chefs on there, right? In my mind, it's like you should be able to tell a temperature and stuff like that. Use a cake tester for fish or whatever. Like that's what those are there for. But don't overuse it. I don't know how far you said. I can't remember what episodes are, but when Vlad goes home,
Yeah, he went
he
home
goes
with
home.
the cake tester.
Yeah, so it's just like, and Gordon is okay with you using stuff like that as long as the product that he's getting is
Right,
perfect, right?
right.
If you send him an undercooked steak and you're using cake testers, he's gonna freak the fuck out.
Yeah.
And a normal kitchen, that's normal for us to use all that stuff. So
Right.
like I'm opening up a steakhouse. Like I need half of my staff to learn how to use thermometers because maybe half of them and this is Waco, so the talent I'm not sure where it's at yet. So for me that's normal. When you go in Hell's Kitchen, it's like
Yeah.
you're doing the old school stuff. So.
Right. Right. And Gordon's like adamant about that. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
Gordon, you've pressed on your forehead many more times. Like your medium rare is different than my forehead. Okay.
Oh, 100%.
Oh man. I mean, okay. And then, so like the other thing is, we're kind of jumping ahead. When these guys are just raw steak after raw steak after raw steak, like how are you guys juggling that when you're on fish or someone's on garnish and you're trying to all get that out at the same time and you are talking and you're doing everything that Gordon Ramsay says, like talk, communicate, and then AB is 4 raw steaks in a row or whatever.
Yeah, it's super difficult. I mean, it's not like a normal kitchen. And I feel like normal kitchens, you kind of have it's. So let me kind of clear this out. Like the way of cooking on Hell's Kitchen is so different than a regular kitchen. When he's calling in appetizers, you're firing on apps. Whatever entrees are on the back end. So say like it's a 4 top. They're getting 2 risottos, 1 carbonara, 1 beet salad. You're firing those. You're giving a time on that, and then he'll call the entrees as well. And say it's 3 New York strips and a halibut. You're gonna fire the New York strips to rare, pull them, let them rest, and then when the entrees are gone, and then you're kind of slow rolling your halibut a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of like you're searing it on each side, and then you're kind of setting it in between the French top, so the kind of like the ambient heat is kind of helping it cook. So then when he fires the entrees, it's like, hey, you have 5 minutes because all you're doing now is you're bringing that steak back up to temp to medium rare. You're basing it. You don't do that in normal kitchens. Like that's not, and it's hard.
Not entirely. There are some kitchens, they call it sandbagging.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we got yelled at if we called it sandbagging, so that was because we knew what that was, and they don't tell you how that runs for the first service. So like like when you hear entrees, you're firing your shit at the same time, and you can watch. I mean, it's a repeating process every first service on every season. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So you have guys like AB and Billy who have been in the industry for a super long time, who are used to cooking that way. They're going to cook that way. So miss picks and not dropping a steak get you screwed. I mean, I have no room to talk. I've messed up so many times on that show just with steaks in general. That's why I'm opening a steakhouse for redemption.
Yeah, there you go. That's
Yeah.
exciting. I do want to come back to the steakhouse, but a few more Hell's Kitchen questions. And if you want to skip over this, we can not talk about it. But how did we go from married to now you're with a contestant you were competing against?
So okay. So the show was filmed. So this ended last year. So the show was filmed in a whole year.
Yeah, they filmed 2 at the same time.
2 at the same time. Yeah, that's how Fox kind of like does things sometimes. I won't get into too much of the personal thing because a lot of it's on social media, and in marriage, me and my ex-wife Randy, we were together for 10 years, super young, and I just turned 30. She's going to turn 30 this year. So I dated her after I got out of high school. She was still in high school. She's an amazing woman. She's the sweetest person ever. I made a mistake. I was super unhappy in the relationship, and we tried to work it out, and I made a decision that ultimately kind of like ex-nayed that. But we're super civil. We have a kid. Like we have to, he is our number one priority. If I didn't have the opportunity to come down here, I'd probably still be in Ohio doing what I have to do, just because I see my son on a monthly basis at this point. Yeah. Flying out of Dallas to Ohio kind of sucks. But I want to make sure he's set up. I've always learned. I mean, I was always told to kind of like give your child a better childhood than you had, and I had a really great childhood. Thankful for my mom and my dad and whoever. So the only way I could do that is kind of like leaving state and chasing opportunities that one that pay really well, and then ones that can help me fulfill my dream. I didn't leave Ohio until I was 29 years old. So I was in Ohio from 2 years old to 29, and I always wanted to travel. So I was getting to the point where I was like, all right, if I'm staying in Ohio, I'm either going to work for somebody who I don't really want to work for, or I'm going to open my own restaurant. And that was all on the plate. So, and then I was like, you know what, let's go try New York out. Love New York. New York's it's a beast, dude. It's a totally different atmosphere there. And then got this opportunity. So yeah.
Yeah, I was when I connected with you, you were in New York.
Yeah.
And I hadn't known anything about you. You know, just Daphne brought you up, and I was
Yep.
checking you out, and like you looked like you fit right in there, dude.
It's so like, man, it was so hard trying to like. I had a job opportunity, was doing some private chef work, which, as you know, it can be a great career. I had never done anything like that before. So it was all new. It was this new thing to me. And I'm in a new city, and it's a city that's so unforgiving.
Yeah.
Um, so I was doing a lot of private chef stuff. I loved it. But then at a certain point, I'm like, you know what? I have been in kitchens. I work in kitchens. I'm working 16 hours a day. I miss that. I can't get that when I'm working for somebody and their family, and, I'm cooking the food that they want to cook. So it's just like, I was like, shit, man, I miss it. So I ended up just trying to find another kitchen job. And that's a job in itself, because like all these New York restaurants want you to have X amount of years of experience working for their competition, and running restaurants that operate with like 25 to $50 million revenue a year. And I come from mom and pop places. Like, we're lucky to hit 5 million if we do. So that was super hard. And I landed at a brewing company and in Brooklyn, which is more my vibe. It's a little more laid back. And literally the third week I was there, I got the job offer to come to Texas. So I was like, well, sorry, love you guys, appreciate the opportunity, but I have to go chase a dream.
Well,
so
that is super awesome, and I can't wait till you're open. If I am in Dallas when you guys open, I'm going to be first.
Oh, you'll definitely be getting an invite.
I'll be first in line.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but I skipped ahead a little bit. So Alyssa goes home kind of early, and I'm watching this only knowing I didn't know you were previously married until Gordon pulled up those photos, and so then I'm like, wait a minute, where did this romance start?
So this romance started like obviously way after the show. It wasn't even like when you're on that show. This sounds it might sound a little messed up, but like when you're on that show, like I didn't really think about my wife and my son at the time, because I'm kind of like everyday survival mode, like it was great to kind of get updates and stuff like that throughout the week and stuff, like pictures. And you're kind of like, oh yeah, shit, I have a family back at home that's what I'm doing this for. So yeah, the relationship with me and Alyssa kind of happened. This has only been like 9 months now. So 9 months ago, started hanging out, met up in Atlantic City. We had kind of like a Hell's Kitchen reunion for Alex because he won and took the job. And I started driving up to New York with her, and was like, I like New York. So that's kind of how that one thing led to the next. Wow. Friends turned into, I guess, lovers now.
Yeah. Okay, so you said on the show, this is kind of a gotcha question, but it'll be funny. You said on the show you had a crush on JoJo when you were a kid. Mm-hmm. Okay, so just if you had an opportunity to take JoJo out on a date, obviously hypothetical, how's the date? Okay. What's the first date?
All right, so just so you know, like I had like this is legit. I had like posters hung up in my room with JoJo.
Which is that's so funny.
Not joking. Like she was like, I would say she was like my first crush. I was in middle school. Like that's when all those like I don't know what kind of magazines it was, but she was always on the cover. It was like
17.
So I was like, that's her. I love her. And then when I found out she was on the show, we don't know who's going to come on prior until lineup. Then they don't show lineup on Hell's Kitchen,
right?
Which kind of sucks, but it's like a really cool, like Gordon. That's like when Gordon is like giving you a pep talk, but I guess it's great because now that's kind of a little more sentimental. And then he told me, he said JoJo. I was like, oh shit, like holy fuck, I get to meet the love of my life. So, and I got to talk to her, which is great. I think if we were on a first date, I would ask her if we could start by just singing all her songs together, like reenacting it, like doing like a music video kind of thing. Super shitty though, like really horrible quality, like video.
Just
like doing
an iPhone music video.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then I honestly like,
Well, if you're gonna make her
like,
work, then you gotta cook.
yeah, I gotta. I feel like I gotta cook, but I'm not cooking like fancy food. Like I'm gonna do like ramen noodles and like I would just have a chill night.
Right
Yeah,
on.
maybe play some beer pong. I don't know. Yeah,
So
but if I'm taking her out, we're going to In and Out. So
so then, what was the first date for you and Alyssa?
that's a good question. Glad she's not here right now because she'd be saying shit in the background.
Yeah,
Uh,
we need her on next.
I think our first date was at a little breakfast spot somewhere in Nomad in New York. It was horrible.
Yeah,
It was so bad. Yeah, we just sat there and talked. Like we got food and didn't even eat it because it was so bad. Not all restaurants in New York are great.
yeah. Well, you bonded over some trauma, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, the new restaurant. What is it called? And do you guys have a close to launch date?
Yes. So it is called the Butcher Cellar. It's in Waco. It's in Woodway, Texas, which Waco is kind of like a decent sized city with a bunch of different smaller cities and suburbs and stuff. Um, it'll be our interpretation of a steakhouse. I like to say it's a little more than a steakhouse. You know, I am all past just going in and getting good food, getting good service, good cocktails. It's all about the experience. So, like, if you work for me, you'll hear me say and talk all the time about experiences. We want our guests to come in and have everything firing on all cylinders to where, like, if they do have a mediocre experience with the food or service, at least the experience can kind of make it better and they can talk about it. We are shooting for April 1st. I don't know how realistic that is. We still haven't hired any line cooks yet and service staff. So it's the restaurant's ready to go. We're just waiting on our first health inspection, like for the compressor and making sure the cooler's the temp and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll see.
So, how much would you say going on and going as far as you did in Hell's Kitchen, and you already had restaurant experience. How did being on Hell's Kitchen change or make working in a restaurant, running a restaurant better or worse?
I think it made it. I think it made it better just because when you're on Hell's Kitchen, you're working with a bunch of people you've never met before. Like you're expected to work a service with people who work completely different than you. So it's allowed me to kind of implement that into my own kind of like arsenal of, hey, I don't know you, but I'm willing to learn how you work and your style, and I can help fit that. I can work in any kind of style kitchen. I try to do that as a young age. I did a lot of hopping around and tried to learn a lot because I'm self taught predominantly. So I'm learning and picking up from different chefs. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's not a bad thing. But I would say overall, like Hell's Kitchen really helped how I kind of implement things going forward in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, man, for me, like the first thing I said when I got home was, you should see what I can do in an hour
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And it's wild because it's just that pressure of Gordon Ramsay, because I've been in other kitchens and I've tried it all. My first job was McDonald's when I was 14, 15, and yeah, 15. And I've also worked every front of house except for bartender. I've never bartended. But I've worked in restaurant kitchens, and I've done all the stations. I've done fast casual burger restaurants, and then private chefing, and like there's just nothing like the pressure of Gordon, like knowing that he's just standing there. But like it totally changed like how, I don't know, like how fast I can pump out, and the quantity
Yeah.
of food that I can pump
Yeah.
out is just
Well, yeah,
insane.
it's one thing to just bust out food, right, and have it taste okay, but like the ingredients you're given, and especially being in California, all those amazing ingredients and stuff, and then pushing it out to the highest of your ability, to where like that could be on any kind of fine dining or tasting menu restaurant within the country. It's crazy. His motto for at least our show, I don't know if it was for your guys' show or not too, but it was get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and I kind of took that in a stride of like, you know, I've talked to like my old high school and a couple younger generation kids, like either just now getting into the field or going to culinary school. It's like you put yourself in those really uncomfortable situations, like you're going to find a lot out about yourself and what you're able to
Yeah.
do. And then once you kind of get that and click, yeah, I mean, you're going to be unstoppable.
Yeah, I feel like anyone that has any sort of success, that's always something that they uh, talk about or connect on some level is getting outside your comfort zone. I mean, it's like I've lived there my whole life. I changed schools all growing up. Like it felt like almost every grade I was going to a different school, and so I was just forced to talk to people and
Yeah.
had to make new friends. And I remember when we moved from Colorado back down to Florida, like the first day of school, I got sent home because I was wearing shorts, and I was like, I just came from Colorado where it's like, 29 degrees and it's like 75 out
Yeah.
here. I'm wearing shorts. And they're like, no, you can only wear pants to school. I got sent home on my first day. I was like, what the fuck? And then, I joined a band in high school. And when we graduated, we hit the road and toured. And I had a full on music career. And
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I love that.
that's hard. That sucks. The music industry is just terrible. But that whole 10, 12 years of my life was just completely uncomfortable as well. And then I was like, I gotta do something for me. And I wrote MasterChef an email, and 20 minutes later I got a phone call, and
That's
that whole thing was
crazy.
uncomfortable. It was
Awesome,
crazy.
dude. Yeah,
It was
okay.
crazy. So speaking of being outside your comfort zone, what advice would you give a future Hell's Kitchen hopeful? Like if someone really wants to go for it, what's your
So that's
advice?
funny because after the show, that's all anybody asks me. They either ask me, how is Gordon Ramsay, or how do I get on the show? So
Yeah.
now knowing how they go about things, how they
Well, I don't care how they get on the
yeah.
show. I want your advice on like mindset.
So, and this is funny too, because I'm actually talking to a few people who have gotten on the show. I'm not going to say any names because I'm going to fuck their NDA up.
Yeah, don't do that.
So I kind of like tell them that kind of like the same thing I did. It's like go in there with an open mind. Don't have any kind of like set expectations of how things are going to go because each season's different. Worry about yourself and yourself only. Like that's it. Don't worry about anybody else. It's just like in real life. If you're starting to worry about other people, you're going to get caught up in all the drama. Um, and really put yourself in those uncomfortable situations. If you're presented with a different ingredient you haven't used before, just kind of take all your career skills and knowledge and really put yourself out there. I mean, it is a high risk, high reward situation, but that's how you're going to stand out. That's literally life as it is, and take it day by day. That's my biggest advice. Don't like come in there like, all right, I'm going to make it to the final round. I'm going to win this son of a bitch. No, like go in there, do your signature dish, do well on it. If you win the challenge, go hang out for the night, and then the next day when you wake up in the morning, it's a totally different goal. It's get through that day, make sure you're being the best, make sure you're performing at the best of your ability, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a day by day thing,
What?
man. It's like
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure. One thing I tell anyone, because I get asked the same question: how's Gordon Ramsay? And I'm like, fuck, like I didn't know I was gonna have to live with this question for the rest of my
yeah,
life. Thanks,
yeah,
Gordo. Uh, and then and then I get asked, well, what do I do if I? My advice is I ask him a question. I'm like, do you think you can win? Because I don't like, in my opinion, you shouldn't try if you don't think you can go all the way, because then you just know you're gonna fail, and like it, no one ever accomplishes anything if they know they're gonna fail,
correct.
because then they don't do
Yeah,
it. So I'm like, do you think you can win? And they're like, well, I just want to. I'm like, nope. I'm like, then don't do it. That's like the competitor in me. I'm just like, don't do it unless you think you can win.
yeah,
And then if you think you can win, then yes, take it day by day. Like Alex even said it like in one of his cooks. He's like, just cook what you know.
yeah.
And like you said, when you get those ingredients and cooking what you know, is it goes a long way. I mean, same with Daphne. Daphne, like when she did those, when you guys were cooking for Danny Trejo,
Exactly. Like
she,
yeah, that's when she kind of like shined. Like she I mean, obviously it's different when you're recording, but like when you watch it, she was very quiet with the first few episodes, and I put her up for elimination because of the wings. Like, and it was nothing personal. I always thought we always talked shit to each other about it. Alex, and Daphne are super close. Like, we were like very tight knit.
Okay.
So we like, just so you know, I'm sure it can show too. But that challenge, I remember that because I was like, yeah, I want to go up against Daphne. Like, I haven't been up against her yet, and then it's a fucking taco challenge, and we're both Hispanic. She's more Hispanic than I am, obviously. And I had always cooked Mediterranean, Middle Eastern flavors, and I stuck with that. Like, that was my bread and butter. Jason, sous chef with the blue hair, was like, he looked at me, he's like, you got to step out of it a little bit. I was like, all right, cool. And that was the taco challenge. And I did a Thai inspired pork taco, and it was fire. And then,
yeah, I thought it was
great. And then Daphne made homemade tortillas, al pastor. And I was like, shit, I should have just did what I knew. And Jason looked at me, he's like, dude, you made fucking Thai tacos for an old Hispanic man. I was like, dude, you told me to step out of my comfort zone and pick now. So from there on out, I was like, I'm just going to do what I know. So
right, and that's the thing too. When people come at me and they're like, "What?" When someone really wants to go on the show and they start asking me like deep questions, I'm like, "Look, I learned early on in season 6. When you walk on set, everything is there to profile your decisions because Gordon really wants to see who you are, and they will throw things at you." And you'll think, okay, this is the right move, and it's the wrong move. Like, there was a time when we were in the audition process where we were still top 100. We weren't on camera yet. We went into we were going in 10 by 10 into the test kitchen, because they were still seeing how we cook. They haven't seen us cook yet.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And they put 4 proteins up on the wall, and they gave us 30 minutes to cook a dish. And there was a whole pantry. There was everything we needed, but there was 4 proteins. Everyone that picked tilapia got cut. That's when I noticed. I was like, wait, what did this person cook? And they were like, tilapia. What did this person cook? Tilapia. And I was like, oh, they were profiling right there. and so, but that happens all season. I remember this kid, we had a corn challenge. I don't remember his name, but I remember he picked candy corn as an ingredient. And Gordon was like, you're out, dude. Like, why would you pick that? But also in that, I know you wanted to go up against Daphne, but also like she like did a grandmother recipe, like
100%. I mean, obviously, if I went back, and nobody on our team, the only person on our team that tried to do homemade tortillas was AB. He's Mexican and failed, and but if I would have went back, I would have. I just and the original idea was to make al pastor. Like, I wasn't gonna grind it up. I was just gonna do nicely charred pork tenderloin, cut them into strips and stuff like that, and like do al pastor, like charred pickle, pineapple, make my own tortilla. And I was like, well, let's do something a little different. And then fucking hell, I will never do that again. So
it's good to do different, but there's a time and place, right?
Yeah, I was super upset.
So that brings me to another question. If you could go back and change, other than the Daphne incident, if you could go back and change one moment, one dish, what would you change?
I have the right answer for that. It's my first course in the final tasting. I did, like, I called it a Vietnamese style beef tartare, and it wasn't any of those flavor profiles. And it was more of like a Pan Asian situation. It was like pulling from Chinese, Japanese, some Thai, and Maylene was the judge, and she's fantastic at what she does. And I was super pissed that she was our first judge because she's super hard in what she judges. And that's the first thing she said. They were like, "It's good, but it doesn't taste like Vietnamese anything." And I got an 8, and that's what kind of screwed it, because me and Alex were tied before his final tasting for the steak, and then he got the 10, I got the 9. He moved on. Daphne kind of destroyed both of us in that tasting, so it was kind of like, shit. So that's the only thing, because I feel like if I would have got a 9, or if I would have got a 10, obviously things would have worked out differently. But yeah.
Okay, so next question: if you could go head to head with anyone from Hell's Kitchen any season, who would you want to go head to head in a 1-hour signature dish cooking competition?
Can it be 3?
Give me 3.
Okay, so we're gonna do Cody, from season 19. Just because
Okay.
me and him have gotten to know each other, and there was some talks of an all-star season happening. We were like, "Yo, we got to be out." Like, I want to go up against you. And then Jonathan from season 22,
Okay.
and then I would love to go up against Ryan, who just won season 22. Like, those guys
Okay.
are like super like
They're
season
good.
22's talent was impressive.
Insane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I feel like those are all great answers. I feel like it kind of blows my mind now, and I I don't try. I really try not to be negative in life in general, but definitely on social media. But like, I saw a couple like MasterChef posts recently, and I'm like, what food is this? Like, there's so many seasons of Gordon Ramsay shows. How is anyone showing up with subpar
Yeah,
like food execution ideas? I'm like, before I would like I had watched every episode of MasterChef before I went on, and I was like, I'm not gonna even make anything that I've seen yet. Like, I'm gonna make sure every one of my dishes is one, something they've never seen before, two, beautiful for TV because everyone at home can't taste it. So like flavor is important, but it's a TV show. I need to make sure it looks amazing. And then my end all be all was make sure it's undeniable.
yeah, I love that. I love that.
First question: fresh pasta or handmade sourdough, and what would you make?
Both of those ingredients.
You get
Oof.
to pick one or the other.
One or the other. I'm gonna do fresh pasta, and I'm gonna make raviolo because it's my favorite because you get a sauce within the pasta. I'm going lobster, Calabrian chilies, a little bit of smoked butter. That's the sauce, and then I'm gonna make a stock with the lobster shells, and then add a little bit of cream to it and put that shit in ISI, and you ISI it over it. So that way you get this plate and it looks like it's just like this white like foam, and then you cut it into it, you get that yolk, man. Yeah.
Have you been on my Instagram at all?
No, did you do
I
that?
have a similar dish. I
Oh
do
shit.
like
Okay.
so when I went back for All Stars, I did my audition for my apron was a squid ink um, um, agnolotti,
Hell yeah.
and I stuffed it with like shrimp and crab, and then I basically made like a lobster bisque, like making the lobster cream sauce, and I charged it with an ISI to make it like really nice and
Yes,
like
sir. Oh,
fluffy.
it's so good, man.
It's so good. Okay, second question: truffle oil or aged balsamic?
I'm gonna do truffle oil, and I'm gonna make the best truffle fries ever.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Like just super easy, but like have it be a big pain in the ass with the fries where you take 3 days to make it, where it's like you cut, you soak, you boil, you let them rest, and then fry them again. So triple cooked fries. There
There
you
you
go, all
go.
day.
All day. Okay. Last question: chocolate in a steak dish or chili in a dessert?
So normal people would probably say chili in dessert. I'm going chocolate and steak,
Okay.
just because it's a little out there, and I'm doing like my own rendition of like a mole, like very. But I'm gonna do the steak. So like the steak, I'm gonna cook almost like Pittsburgh style, right? And I'm gonna cool it down. I'm gonna thinly slice it, and then we're gonna make like this like mole vinaigrette situation.
Solid.
Little different, yeah.
Hey, maybe you can run that as a special in the new restaurant.
Dude, there's so much shit in my mind to run.
It's hard, right?
Yeah, I'm finalizing menu Mondays, so and it's time to get going.
Amazing. Well, Alejandro, I'm super excited for everything you got going on. I can't wait to come check out the new restaurant, and welcome to Texas. Wow,
Yes,
that
love it.
we're only like an hour and a half away from each other, right?
Yeah. Are you in
Um,
Dallas a lot?
yeah, I split my time basically between here and LA.
Okay, let me know when you're in Dallas next, and then we'll do a cooking video. I'll drive up
Yeah,
there like in a heartbeat.
let's make it happen. What are you
Ready?
doing tomorrow? No, I'm kidding.
I love it. I love
We'll
it.
get it. We'll get it on the books for sure.
For sure, dude. All right, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Talk to you
Thank
soon,
you.
man. Peace.